When you hear this, turn the page.
The story of the visitors. Dr. Juliet Parrish was working in her laboratory near Los Angeles when she first heard about them. The door burst open and a young colleague rushed in.
Have you heard the news?
Juliet looked up from the bench where she was working with two other scientists.
Heard what news, Ben?
Ben Taylor flipped on the television set that sat on a high shelf in the laboratory. The screen filled with the image of a vast disc-shaped vessel hovering over San Francisco Harbor, so huge that the Golden Gate Bridge below looked like a child's toy. The TV announcer's voice came over in awesome tones.
And reports have come from Paris, London, Moscow, Rome, Geneva, Buenos Aires, Tokyo, and all the descriptions of the spaceships have been identical. Our station at San Francisco now has it in vision. Yes, there it is. My gosh, the size of it. Ladies and gentlemen, these pictures are coming to you live from San Francisco.
At almost the same moment, Juliet and her colleagues heard a low, pulsing hum. The laboratory mice began to race frantically around their cages. Julie looked puzzled.
Ben, do you think...
As if in answer to her unfinished question, the TV announcer spoke from the screen.
There is also confirmation that yet another of the giant ships is moving in over Los Angeles.
The scientists stared at each other in shocked silence. Within hours, there was only one topic of conversation throughout the world: the visitors. In their vast spaceships, some 5 miles in diameter, they were everywhere. The whole world waited, tense, apprehensive, excited, frightened. The pulsing hum was being heard by all the world's population. Then the hum altered tone, swiftly echoing, then changed to a voice.
21, 20, 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13, 12...
The strangely resonant voice continued the countdown
10,
while news commentators
9,
explained that all over the world, people were hearing the
7,
same thing, each in their own local language.
4, 3, 2, 1. Citizens of the planet Earth, we bring you greetings. We come in peace. May we respectfully request that the Secretary General of the United Nations please come to the top of the UN building in New York at 0100 hours Greenwich Mean Time this evening. Thank you.
Lots had been drawn to decide which cameraman and news commentator were to cover the historic events at the UN building. Mike Donovan and Christine Walsh drew the cards. Mike panned his camera across the Manhattan skyline and picked up the distinguished figure of the Secretary General. Mike stared upwards, the viewfinder of his camera pressed against his eye. He knew almost the entire world would be seeing these pictures, a world gone strangely silent. At exactly 0100 hours GMT, Mike zoomed in on a small, dark opening at the side of the frighteningly gigantic spaceship. The opening was filled with something that turned out to be a detached, streamlined shape swooping down toward them. He could hear Christine Walsh's professional voice.
The smaller craft is moving at an angle downward now across 3rd Avenue and 39th, coming directly to the UN building.
Mike Donovan followed the gleaming white shuttlecraft as it descended, with barely a whisper of displaced air.
Now the craft is drifting to a stop some 10 feet in the air above our heads. Now it lands, and the air itself feels strange, vibrating slightly.
A panel opened at the bottom side of the craft, and a short ramp extruded onto the rooftop, resting there securely. The Secretary General mounted it and entered the spacecraft, and after a few moments reappeared. A hushed world listened as he told them that the visitors from space had assured him that they had come in peace and that their Supreme Commander would shortly be addressing every nation simultaneously. Mike gasped as he saw the Supreme Commander appear. He'd expected differences. There were none. He appeared, a normal human male of middle years, and was clad in a reddish-colored pilot's flight suit. He spoke.
Our planet is the fourth in distance from the star Sirius, some 8.7 light years from your Earth. We come in peace. You are the first intelligent life form we have encountered outside our solar system. We are very pleased to meet you. My name is John. Your Secretary General referred to me as Supreme Commander. Actually, I am only an admiral, responsible for the small fleet around your planet. We have come on behalf of our great leader. We have come because we need your help.
John went on to explain to an astounded world that they had environmental difficulties far worse than Earth and could not survive without assistance. In return, the visitors would gladly share the fruits of their own knowledge. Then Mike and Christine were invited on board and taken to the mother spaceship. Mike knew he was filming the event of the century as he took shots of the spaceship's interior. Through his camera, he saw large open areas with rows of shuttlecraft lined up on either side. John explained that each bay held about 36 shuttles, and there were over 200 scattered throughout the great motherships of the fleet. He photographed the inner control room, full of instrument graphs and readouts and crowds of red-uniformed crew members. On in all sections of this gigantic, overwhelming, powerful spaceship. When the live television show was over, Mike and Christine met and talked to the crew members. As they moved about the docking bay, an extremely attractive woman entered. Mike took up his camera again and zoomed in on her. It was impossible to mistake the authority in her dark eyes and arrogant walk. Mike heard Christine's voice as the visitors came toward them.
So you have both male and female members in your crew then?
John sounded faintly surprised.
Yes, of course. This is Diana. She is second in command.
Diana led the way, telling them about the restricted radioactive areas which powered the ship and vast spaces which would be storing the products from the Earth. Christine asked,
How many people are there on this ship?
Mike saw Diana hesitate for a second, then
Several thousand.
Mike bit his lip. His brain whirled as he muttered to himself.
And there are 50 ships like this here at the moment.
That night, Mike and Christine watched the video of the program they had made about the visitors. Christine smiled wryly.
You took more close-ups of Diana than me, Mike.
Mike said little. He was worried. Very, very worried indeed. The days passed by. The world tried to settle back to a routine, but it was impossible with the shadow and sounds of the visitors' spaceships hovering overhead. So big that in some cases, they blotted out the sun. And world opinion was divided about the visitors. Some welcomed it, felt it would bring prosperity and a new knowledge to the world. Others were suspicious, apprehensive, wary of the visitors' true intentions. Some people cooperated fully. Christine became the press liaison officer. Mike kept apart, distant, uncertain, suspicious. And Juliet Parrish? She was distinctly uneasy, particularly since the day that one of the world's leading scientists, Dr. Jankowski, had made a public announcement that many leading scientists in the world of biomedical science had been plotting against the visitors. And when she saw her chief, the quiet, brilliant Dr. Metz, falsely arrested, she became desperately concerned and even angry when she heard Christine Walsh announce,
As a result of the conspiracy and crimes of our scientists, the visitors' proposed scientific seminar will now be postponed.
Julie realized that for some mysterious reason, scientists were a threat to the visitors. Other unpleasant happenings started. In the small town of San Pedro, the inhabitants rebelled against the visitors by blowing up one of their squad vehicles. Within hours, the whole population of the town had disappeared completely, mysteriously without trace. Whole towns in remote areas were suddenly bereft of people and animals, even mice and frogs. Mike Donovan decided he had to get into the mothership with his camera and discover the truth about the visitors. Using the experience of his previous visit, he managed to stow away on a shuttle ship. It was dangerous, it was stupid, but he'd always led a life of perilous missions. The shuttle bay on the mothership was just as he remembered it. Visitor technicians were everywhere. Mike crept forward, camera in hand. There was a steady rumble of machinery that covered any sounds he might make. He listened from the shadows. The lovely Diana was talking to Stephen, her security officer.
You must be pleased, Diana. We have nearly secured all the continents.
Diana smiled.
It pleases me to serve our leader.
Then, to Mike's horror, she picked up a mouse from a nearby cage and ate it. He felt sick. Diana continued to talk.
Of course, my thought conversion process doesn't work on every human.
No, but when it does, it is remarkable.
Yes, they actually believe a conspiracy of scientists exists. And of course, the false evidence we have planted reinforces this belief. Once we have eliminated or converted all the scientists, our task will be easier.
Our leader could not have chosen anyone better than you, Diana.
Mike saw Stephen pick up a frog and eat it. He couldn't believe his eyes. It was ghastly, hideous. He had to get away and show these camera shots to the world. He backed away through the air shaft, and then it was a visitor. The visitor lashed at him. Mike fought back. He was desperate, scratching, punching. His fingers sank into the visitor's face. A flap of skin came away. He was close enough to see into the visitor's mouth. There were 2 sets of teeth. Then the rest of the flap of skin came away like cheese wrapping, and Mike found himself looking at a reptile face. A forked tongue hissed out at him. Mike lashed back with his camera.
You are reptiles. You are all reptiles with false skins. No wonder you eat.
The visitor's tongue darted out. Mike hit back with his camera. The visitor fell. Mike ran and ran, threw himself into an open side of a shuttle plane just leaving for Earth as he heard an announcement.
Emergency! Emergency! Intruder above! Level 73! Intruder!
When the music stops, turn the cassette over.